Hi everyone. Welcome to Slide Deck B, where we'll talk about marketing as a strategic process. This focuses especially on Chapter 2 in your book and Appendix A. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to shoot me an email or post on our discussion boards. But for now, let's go ahead and dive in. Oh, and a bit more housekeeping, as always, like any others. Go ahead and you can pause, you can fast forward, you can rewind. And there are timestamps to help you track what we're going to talk about in each of the videos so that you can pick and choose what you want to focus on as needed. So let's get started. Welcome to Chapter 2, Developing Successful Organizational and Marketing Strategies. Today we focus on strategy, the art of crafting the aims and goals that will guide our actions. You should not just put out commercials or introduce a new product just because. Each organization has goals in mind. It may be profit, encouraging better health, making the world a better place, and so on. But what actions will actually help you achieve those goals? Do we even know what we want? Ultimately, marketing strategy helps the organization by letting us better break down our situation into problems and solutions, anticipate how others are likely to behave, and to apply this from a long-term perspective. So this chapter includes a lot of ideas that all fit together. So here's how I divided up this slide deck. So first we'll talk about what is strategy and cover how it's a matter of long-term planning, coming together with a purpose. Next, well, what is our purpose then? How do we approach our problems? So we'll talk missions, values, and long-term things. We'll learn how to use a business mission. Number 3, well, how do we decide what goals to tackle? What's our strategic direction? What plan should we do? So we're going to be talking about us, our target market, and the rest of the external environment, and discussing a situational analysis called the SWOT analysis. Fourth, we'll ask, hey, how do we reach our goals with plans? So we'll go and connect how we make specific objectives and metrics that flow from our missions and our more strategic directions. Finally, this one's not part of this slide deck, but B2, I think I'll call it. Marketing plans can help, and that'll be about how we write a plan and what's in it and why do we even bother. So I realize many of you likely will have some experience with marketing planning, and even if you are not a formal marketer, you'll still likely deal with marketing concepts when creating your business plans or managing how plans are implemented. After all, when companies follow the marketing concept, marketing is part of the larger strategy that brings together supply chain, finance, accounting, info systems, and others. So here are your learning objectives. An easy way to see if you're on track is imagine what you say if I asked you any one of these questions. So explain what is strategic planning for marketing and why we do it. Explain why marketing strategy includes information on the organization's mission or competencies, the target market, and the larger external environment. Name the 4 Ps and give an example for how each could impact a target market. Explain why we have marketing plans and the purpose of the different parts. Explain why we might use each of the following tools in strategic planning. Be able to evaluate with each tool and make one of your own. So business mission, SWOT analysis, objective. And finally, recommend a relevant control metric based on said objective. So these learning objectives basically boil down to how do we use strategy to make plans, and how do we make sure small plans and desired outcomes fit with larger, longer term outcomes and plans. So turning to our chapter, we have 2 short answers to these 2 concerns. First, we learn how we use strategic thinking to guide our plans. Big idea is that strategic planning is the focus on the long term. Strategic focus is all about the long term. We want to determine goals and plans that will contribute toward those longer term outcomes. Second, not part of this especially, but we'll learn what a marketing plan is, what are its parts, and especially what will be covered in Chapter 1 in Appendix A, not just Chapter 2. So, before we jump in, let's think of a question to get us thinking. Let's imagine you are opening a business. You're trying to figure out what your goal should be for your business. So, besides just profit and survival, presumably, we're assuming that already. What will you get what will you get? What do you want to do for a sustainable advantage? What do you want to do? And what's your plan? So should you make the best product ever? Should you be the most efficient producer of a product? Or should you work on maximizing sales? So go ahead and pick. Why do you think one of these ways might be better or not? What might get you that sustainable advantage? Which firms or organizations are you thinking about when you make that decision? Go ahead. So what did you think? You might have likely figured out that it's a bit of a trick question, especially when you start thinking about, well, what are my examples? It is, after all, a rare company that can be good at everything. When making the best product ever, it can be very costly and competitors may simply outperform. What about being the most efficient producer? That depends. Efficiency takes money, and it'll matter whether competitors can do something better. How about maximizing sales? Sure, but needs of the customers do differ, and so you'll only go so far with that. You're ultimately limited by how many sales you can actually make. So too general, most customers will find someone actually serves them better. Too specific, and you'll limit sales for who actually cares about the type and combination you've done. As you can see, we often have the issue where an organization often has limited resources in which to achieve their goals. You have to make trade-offs. Marketing usually uses the marketing concept as our guide. The marketing concept emphasizes pleasing your customers, so you may not always be able to serve everyone, and you don't even want to really. Instead, you want to serve those you can serve well. So not just market to everyone, you want to serve those you can serve well based on that marketing concept. So in effect, this is where strategy comes into play. We're looking to figure out those very questions. What do we do when we make trade-offs? What direction to go? So our first question, what is marketing strategy and why do we do it? So taking a step back, why do we even form organizations? What do we do? Why are we coming together like that? So what did you think? So we know an organization is a legal entity that consists of people who share a common mission. Examples include for-profits, non-profits, government. Notice they're all organizing according to the type of mission they have, whether profit, public welfare, advancing policy, or perhaps championing a new cause. But how do we make that mission a reality? We need to decide what we want to do and make a plan for how to do it. So strategy is important to organizations because it helps its members better achieve the mission through good planning. We can plan our actions in a way that works toward our mission, but also better fits with the ongoing world in which we operate. So to that end, marketing strategy is a managerial process where we seek to create and maintain a fit between the organization's objectives and resources and those evolving market opportunities. So all about creating and maintaining a good fit between us, our objectives and resources, and evolving market opportunities. So our marketing strategic decisions are guided by that market orientation and focus on long-term commitments of resources. As a refresh, the marketing concept means we're focused on enacting exchange that's based on that customer satisfaction and long-term organizational objectives. So for many businesses, their long-term goal is to sustain increased long-term run profitability and growth. The firm is not just thinking about what makes the company run today, but also ensuring its continual survival tomorrow. So for example, airline companies trade in jet fuel futures. Airlines often do something called fuel hedging, where they enter into contracts with fuel companies where a price is set ahead of time, because fuel prices can vary widely and make a huge brunt of the costs for running a flight. Southwest Airlines is known for how aggressively it does this, and how this has led to it doing better than its competitors by positioning itself as a cost leader. For nonprofits and others, they too have their own missions, like growth or advancement of a cause, in which they also aim to achieve. Their survival and the health of their mission are also aided through a long-term focus for how to commit resources. So question, what are some examples you can think of a firm that made changes for long-term purposes? Or perhaps firms who have failed to do so? So in sum, strategic planning is about sustaining matches for long-term profitability and growth. These types of decisions usually entail long-term commitment of resources. The market orientation should be used to guide the way a firm makes its decision as how it values certain opportunities or predicts future outcomes. So let's wrap up this section on what is strategy with a quick example. NFL and Twitter. So a few years back, the NFL, the National Football League, was selling streaming rights to their Thursday night football games. Major platforms like Amazon, Facebook, and Twitter all made bids. So the NFL soon announced that Twitter won. Business sources reported that Twitter was not the highest bid, in fact, though. So let's talk how strategy can guide actions. So think for a moment. What might Twitter be able to offer to the NFL other than money, since they gave it to Twitter? What's going on? So what did you think? So perhaps you might think in terms of what Twitter's about, in terms of their target market, maybe in terms of how Twitter is used differently. So for example, Facebook, you often think of I post after the fact, versus Twitter, where it's especially we are doing it immediately, immediate responses. But then again, some of you are going, wait a minute. As of 2017, quite some time ago, the Thursday night football game streaming rights are now on Amazon. What happened? What do you think changed such that the NFL gave it to Amazon instead of Twitter? As added context, a month after the Amazon announcement, we also learned Twitter still has a deal with the NFL, but for producing and hosting different content. So if you look at the news, you can see how the way you frame who wins and who loses can impact how we calculate strategy. You'll see many articles note that Twitter lost the rights, but others who know Twitter found it wasn't working as well for them either, the way or content that the NFL needed them to make. So in case you're curious, the NFL and Amazon have renewed their agreement for 2018 and 2019 and have added on an option for Amazon's Twitch. Meanwhile, Twitter makes its own content and connections with the NFL. So in sum, keep an eye on the news. There are plenty of examples and ways firms and other organizations make decisions that may not make immediate sense in the short term, but on second look are aimed toward the long-term vision. And keep note, just because they make the first bid or first decision doesn't quite work out, you still tinker with it. So Twitter's not completely out, but they still got their foot in the door the first time around. So with that, next section we'll talk a bit more about how we think in terms of long-term strategy and things like the business mission. So to that end, I encourage you to go ahead, take a quick hydration break, or go ahead and jump in how you please. And whatever ideas you have, hopefully you've got some good ones, and I encourage you to run with them and build on them. Take care.